Yo, peace. What up, world? This is the Akashic Review. My name is Virgilio. I am your human software expert, and I'm here to aid and facilitate in the spiritual expansion of the collective consciousness. I just want to start out by saying that in the middle of every belief is a lie. So take everything that I say with a grain of salt. Do your own research. Truth has to be earned, not learned. So I can give you the information, but unless you seek it, unless you do some fact checking for yourself, you will not be able to process it and infuse some of these truths into your life. With that being said, I wanted to make this video to talk about Jupiter retrograde in Scorpio right now. Jupiter went into Scorpio October 10th, and it's going to stay there until November 8th of this year. Now, what is Scorpio? Scorpio is all about introspection and diving deep beneath the surface of yourself and other people, noticing those parts of yourself and other people that are hidden, that aren't necessarily put on Front Street for the world to see. I am a Scorpio rising, so I have all the symptoms of a Scorpio. I can have a conversation with you and you'll speak a couple sentences. I hear your whole life. I have you read within 2 minutes. I know who you are, I know what type of person you are, I know what your motives are. Boom, that's Scorpio. Scorpio dives really deep to find out those little parts of his subconscious that it's not truly connected to. It's about death and rebirth and transformation and out with the old, in with the new kind of deal. It also goes into sex, death, other people's money that you get through inheritance, money that you get through marriage, things of that nature. Scorpios can be very possessive, very jealous, very fierce lovers. It is a water sign, so it's all about emotion. But Scorpio is about deep, still water. It's not necessarily running water like Cancer. It's not, Piscean, where they're gonna profess their love to the world and put all their emotional feelings out there. Scorpio is very introverted. It doesn't speak its mind to people very easily. It takes a while for it to give its trust and to open up to people. So that's Scorpio, the short version of Scorpio. I'll probably do a couple videos on this later to really give you guys a sense of that energy. But for now, let's talk about Jupiter. Jupiter is the largest planet in our solar system. It is a giant gas planet. There is no surface on Jupiter. It's just this huge planet with lots of gravity and lots of moons. So Jupiter is representative of expansion. Expansion in almost any sense, but more so in an academic, spiritual, cultural kind of sense. Things that you learn through travel, through philosophy, through being a student of the world, higher education, religion. These are things that Jupiter rules. Jupiter rules spirituality, the higher realms, the higher heavens, things of that nature as well. But more than anything else, wherever it is in your chart, it brings expansion, luck, vitality. It also can come with an element of carelessness and recklessness. Jupiter has the propensity to turn to drugs and alcohol at times. It likes to try new things and just expand in any sense of the word. So, Jupiter and Scorpio. Jupiter went into Scorpio October 10th, 2017. Jupiter and Scorpio wants us to First of all, it depends where you have Scorpio in your birth chart. If you would like to know more about your birth chart and know how this is going to affect you, feel free to email me and we can set something up. I offer natal chart readings, I offer synastry chart readings, love compatibility, pretty much anything you want to know. We can figure that out for you and empower you with the tools to take control of your life and make it what you want it to be. At the end of the day, we are born with these energies. When you take your first breath, that is essentially your human iOS software, but it does get upgraded as you grow up, as you learn. So you do have the power to alchemize your energies. So, wherever you have Jupiter, wherever you have Scorpio in your chart, is the area that Jupiter is now transiting. If you are not familiar with astrology, a transit is where the planets actually are right now in relation to your birth chart. So, you might have Jupiter in Aries in your birth chart, but right now, like for the world, Jupiter is in Scorpio. So, depending on the part of your chart that Scorpio rules, you are going to be expanding at this time. You're really going to be sort of adding new things and gaining vitality in whatever area of life this is for you. I will go through the signs and sort of talk about what it does for each one. But I want you all to think about October 10th. Last year, October, getting ready for Halloween, getting ready for winter, fall. Around that time, up until 2 weeks ago, Jupiter was bringing expansion to our lives in whatever area it is in your birth chart. So, if Jupiter is in, let's say, your 9th house, which Jupiter rules the 9th house. The 9th house is ruled by Sagittarius. But let's say you have, Aries in the 9th house. That would suggest that Jupiter is sort of expanding yourself at this time. Your ideas of yourself, the way that you present yourself, the way that you act out in the world, your energy that you put out. So yeah, in regards to what it does in other signs, I will go through that in just a second, but backtracking here, I want to talk about this retrograde aspect because, it's often very easy to go back and look at what Jupiter was expanding on, especially when you know where it is in your birth chart. For me, I'm a Scorpio rising, and Jupiter actually went retrograde at 23 degrees Scorpio, which is the exact degree of my rising sign. So things have been a little weird for me. I've really been going deep within my subconscious as the Scorpio rising that I am. I'm constantly down in the depths of who I am, just sort of rediscovering myself constantly, figuring out what doesn't work for me, burning that, and in with the new. So for me, Jupiter's really been expanding my spirituality in the last, few months since October. He's brought some people into my life that really sort of shine light on my personality and my ascendant. One person in particular that I've been spending a lot of time with since then actually has their Mars conjunct my rising, conjunct my ascendant, same degree. And that relationship has sort of been growing since then. You guys will probably notice similar things if you do have your birth charts. Normally very specific areas associated with where Jupiter is in your chart will be expanded upon. So with that being said, let's talk about this retrograde aspect. What happens when a planet goes retrograde? Well, basically the energy from that planet stops. The flow is sort of cut off. So Jupiter especially, this big giant planet that just infuses lots of abundance and vitality into wherever it's transiting. All of a sudden when that energy stops, it's kind of felt. It's a profound experience. At this time, Jupiter asks you to slow down. Consider the area of your chart that it's in, and just it's basically telling you that you have enough of that at the time being. So from October 10th up until when Jupiter went retrograde about a week ago, he's now expanded as much as he can in that area of your life. So now it is time to be introspective. Scorpio is a very introspective sign, the most introspective sign. It's all about diving into your subconscious. It's very introverted. It wants to kind of be in solitude so that it can figure itself out. It's very complex energy. So at this time, Jupiter wants you all to really go into yourself and consider how it has brought you expansion in the last few months. What has it brought to your life? What's new in your life right now that was not there before October of last year? What people are in your life now? Maybe you have a new job. Maybe you got a new promotion. Maybe there's a new love interest in your life. Now is the time to not add anything to the pot. Don't add any new ingredients. At least until July 10th. July 10th, Jupiter will go direct again, which will be a very significant time, because then all of this culmination of Jupiter going through that sign of Scorpio is really going to really kick in hardcore when it goes direct again. That's when kind of the point of this transit for you will really come to life. You'll really see like what Jupiter's plan was for you all along, because you will sort of start to receive something and kind of have that aha moment, like, okay, I have this in my life now. I have this new thing that I now need to integrate into my personality or into my career, into my love life, whatever house Jupiter is in for you. So at this time, you're gonna wanna really just slow down, sort of decide what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Definitely play the long game. Don't take any risks right now. Jupiter is sort of on pause, on replay. I wanna say he's on replay more than pause, which is very much what retrograde is. It's gonna go backwards. It's gonna make you revisit some of the expansion that you've been doing. Some of these new relationships that have come into your life. You're gonna kind of be thrown back into that mix to really decide whether or not this is something that's gonna stick with you or not after this transit. Mind you, this is Scorpio, so we've all probably been expanded a bit sexually, maybe a little bit more open to things, a little bit more promiscuous, a little bit more kind of desiring that intimate physical exchange between you and a partner, or multiple partners if you're, say, Gemini, maybe you got lots of Sag going on, whatever. No judgment. But yeah, it's pressing replay. It's making you take a peek at everything that you kind of just went through the last few months. So you're going to want to really go within yourself and make sure that you're doing the reflection necessary so that when it does go direct and it starts throwing more things at you, you're ready for it. It's one of those things, like when you're going to start a new relationship, if you have personal things to figure out, then it's really not a good time to jump into something new. You got to get yourself right first before you can really dive into that next thing. That's what Jupiter is asking you to do right now. He's asking you to go deeper than yourself, take all this new shit and these new things that are going on and sort of juggle them, but internally. Push them around in your mind and move them around in your mind. Do some psychic math and just kind of, see what works for you. You're going to have like sudden realizations of self during this time. You're going to realize like, oh shit, I really don't like that part of myself. Or, I do this really well. Why am I not doing more of that? Or this person is really good for me. This person, had my back 3 or 4 times and I haven't really made the time for them. I need to make more time for them because that connection works. Some more themes that you can kind of come across during this time. Increases in intensity. Scorpio is all about intensity, passion, lust, willpower, assertiveness, dominance, psychic energy. A lot of you are probably experiencing lots more connectivity, sort of people talking to you and you hearing more than what they're saying to you, hearing the intent behind people's words. Mad Scorpio. So Jupiter is just enhancing those Scorpio traits. So if you have a Scorpio dominant chart, you have Venus in Scorpio. That's, it's being amplified right now. It's being revved up with Jupiter there. So, even though it's in retrograde, the themes are still bringing out some of those qualities in whatever you might have in Scorpio. Also look at your 8th house, which is ruled by Scorpio. For me, my moon is there. So, Scorpio being on my ascendant, Scorpio rising, Jupiter right there, moon across in the 8th house, in the house ruled by Scorpio. I just got more of that going on. So if you do not have heavy Scorpio, but let's say you have an 8th house stellium, well, you're dealing with a lot of Scorpio energy right now. Also, we've had this crazy Pisces season with all these different planets in Pisces. We had Mercury there, Venus, Neptune is still there, the Sun is still there, Chiron is still there, Juno is in there right now. There's a lot going on in Pisces. So water signs, we're being bombarded right now. There's like psychic attacks that we're dealing with, just way too emotional, being fine one day, waking up crying the next day. Play the long game, fight the good fight, be patient, be strong. Things are being activated right now. This world is becoming more spiritual, and water signs, we are on the front of that. We are sort of leading the pack. So yeah, be strong. Our psychic abilities are being revved up. Get in tune with that. Get some Reiki. Email me. I've got some great Reiki healers for you guys. I am level 2. I am a certified Reiki practitioner. If you need some like deep, intense healing, I've got just the guy for you. This is the time to get in tune with spiritual practice. Tarot, get your tarot done. You should be doing that daily, especially you water signs, you Scorpio people, you Pisces people, spiritual people with spiritual energy. We need sort of the philosophy and the ground to stand upon, to kind of come back to keep us rooted in this reality and give us an understanding of these very spiritual energies that we've been feeling. So if you need a good tarot reading done, I have just the lady for that as well for you. So again, email me, theakashicreview@gmail.com. I'm also just gonna real quick ask you guys to like, subscribe, follow my channel. I'm gonna have lots of information on here for you. My North Node is in Pisces, in the 3rd house. I am here to communicate on matters of the spiritual. I'm not here to believe anything. I am simply here to compile the data and share it with you fine folks. I am also a healer, so I do offer some services in regards to healing as well. But I want to dive back into some of these transits really quick. Jupiter retrograde. Something to note is that right now Jupiter is sextile Pluto. So Pluto, Pluto being in Capricorn right now, but being the night ruler of Scorpio, Jupiter being in Scorpio and them being sextile. Sextile, think sex. They're in harmony. There's a rhythm going back and forth between those two energies. Pluto is all about death and rebirth, which is very much what Scorpio is about. So again, right now we are all being asked to go into our subconscious and find what works for us, find what doesn't work for us, and really just sort of find our inner willpower and our inner intensity and our ability to be obsessive when needed so that we can get things done. Scorpio is about obsession. That is why we make the best occultists, the best astrologers, because our obsessions, we can get to the bottom of anything. We're the detectives of the zodiac. We see through the veil. So yeah, another aspect, Jupiter trine Neptune. So again, with all this Pisces stuff, Neptune's been in Pisces for some time now, and it's going to remain there for another number of years. It being trine Jupiter right now, there's a tremendous amount of healing energy in the air, which is also very much what Jupiter retrograde in Scorpio is about. It's about going within and healing from the subconscious outward. When you go deep within and you heal that blackness deep beneath the surface, it eventually reaches the surface, and then you can begin to integrate some of that power that you find within. You can integrate that into your personality, but only after you do the work and you dive within and sort of find yourself through introspection and through being introverted, through seclusion even. Scorpio is very much about, sitting in your room in the dark and ruminating and thinking about dark taboo things like death and afterlife. Because through death, we connect to Source. And that's what Scorpio is about. Scorpio is about connecting to Source. And Scorpio uses sex and death to get there. What happens when you have sex? You activate the energy that lies dormant in the bottom of your spine, the serpent, the bottom of your kundalini. Where that energy lies dormant is the area that Scorpio rules. Scorpio people innately, instinctively know this. This is why they want to get you in bed. They do not want to go to coffee with you. They do not want to go on a date with you. Hi, my name is Verge. How are you? Let's go back to my place. I'm not really like that. I'm a little bit old-fashioned. But for the most part, Scorpio wants to experience God through intimacy. This is why these people are very sexual. It's not about the act of sex. It's not like, ooh, put it here. Like, it's not that Sag kind of hoe. It's more so like, damn, that person looks interesting. I want to know them completely. What is the quickest way to learn about someone and to know their soul? Is to get in bed with them and look them in the eye and see how they respond to that intensity. So, with Neptune trine Jupiter, backtracking here, spiritual energy is just abundant. This sort of introspection and going within that Jupiter is asking from us is being aided by Neptune in Pisces, which rules illusions and spirituality and divinity, divine energy, the highest of realms, sort of the fabric that separates this world and the hereafter. So, there's sort of a divine purpose in this retrograde that's happening right now with that trine to Neptune. Things like love, unconditional love, ideals, just healing, but also escapism. There's a good and a bad side to everything. This has popped up in my life recently. A lot of friends having drug problems. I've heard of people overdosing. Pisces, Neptune, escapism. These people, this energy is so connected that it just wants to break out of this cage that our bodies are. Our bodies are cages. They're prisons. They trap our energy here for the duration of our life. Now, we willingly come here. So, the word prison has some negative connotations. But for the most part, your body keeps your energy rooted in this reality. It's a car that you drive in order to facilitate the experience that you came here to have. So, with Neptune and Pisces, there's just a need to escape from that because there's so much spiritual energy in the air that it's just like, what am I even doing here? Like, I can see ghosts. Not that I can. I've never seen a ghost. Some people can, some people can't. Neptune in the 12th house. Jupiter in the 12th house sometimes even. You guys just see all kinds of shit. I'm a little bit jealous, but also I have enough Scorpio, crazy psychic stuff to deal with. So, but yeah, man, there's just this abundance of spiritual energy right now, and people are really just seeking to escape from it. They're turning to drugs and alcohol and just trying to get out of their bodies. Not the way to go. We all willingly came into this experience. So, as shitty as it can get, ride it out and get what you can from it. Otherwise, you're going to be right back in the same shitty situation in a different body. And who the hell wants to do that? If you are not making progress, what the hell are you doing? So, another thing that's going to be coming up with these transits is, November 8th, Jupiter will be 29 degrees Scorpio. Uranus will be 29 degrees Aries. Both of those signs are ruled by Mars. So let's talk about Uranus. Uranus is about sudden changes. It's this godly energy, and not just energy the way, other planets and other signs are energies, but energy like electricity energy, godly electricity. Uranus is the spark that causes the revolution. So with Jupiter being 29 degrees Scorpio, Uranus being 29 degrees Aries, I would look out for some political things to go down. I mean, look at the state of this country. If you can't tell by my accent, I am from New York, United States. Things are fucked up here. We have a pretty divided country at the moment, and our president is a Cheeto-faced retard. Not retard, that is not the right word to use. I don't mean to offend anyone. Retard actually means slow moving though. So some people out there, I would challenge you to not be so sensitive. Some of these words that people get offended by can just be very silly sometimes. In the context of how I just used it, I don't think it's offensive, but I still feel the need to apologize anyway. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. But yeah, Cheeto-faced dude running the country. Unfortunately, I live somewhere where there are lots of Republicans. I actually, just had a few run-ins with a lot of these, sort of closed-minded people. I don't want to get too into politics, but yes, U.S. divided nation right now. I would look for that November 8th date around that time. 29 degrees too is just like, it's the final frontier. You're about to move into a new sign. Both of those signs are ruled by Mars, which is like war, energy, passion, you know, like fighting and standing up for yourself. I'm thinking that we could see some sort of political changes during that time. I don't want to go so far as to say impeachment, even though I think we're all sort of hoping for that. At least I know I am. But just keep your eyes out for that. I think we can see some significant things go down in the news with those two planets at 29 degrees in Mars-ruled signs. So, you know, with that being said, I do sort of want to dive into just what it's going to mean for each house, Jupiter retrograde anyway. And before I do that, you know, again, I just wanted to elaborate on sort of the spiritual implications of this time. This is the time to learn astrology. This is the time to do tarot. This is the time to take on some new philosophies, to go to church. You know, I am not someone who is all about religion. I am adept at disproving your religions using your own texts. Shout out to my mom, Vera Courtenay. She has a book on Amazon called The Age of I Know, Unmasking the Magicians, the Bible Exposed. Fantastic book if you're someone with interest in biblical text, in the books that were taken out of the Bible. You're someone maybe struggling with religion and its corruptness, and you want to sort of maybe stray away from that, or just see what your next steps are. Or you're just interested in theology and the cosmic roots of humanity. That is the book for you. The Age of I Know, Unmasking the Magicians, the Bible Exposed by Vera Courtenay. Check it out. It's on Amazon. I believe it's back up now. She took it down for a while to adjust some things and add some fantastic content. Just finished reading it recently. It is phenomenal. So many gems in there. Not just because she's my mom either. Like, for real, it's one of the best reads that I've ever had personally. So, with that being said, seek out spirituality during this time. It's only going to help you with your introspection and sort of figuring out what parts of your Scorpio need to stay and what parts need to go. So, if you have Scorpio in your first house, or rather if Jupiter is transiting your first house right now, which would mean you have Scorpio in your first house, this is a major growth cycle for you. With the first house being self, you're going to be asking questions like, who am I? What do I want? What am I doing? What am I here for? Your personality is going to appear more favorable to other people during this time with Jupiter expanding it. This is a time to really put yourself out there, not during the retrograde, but when it goes back direct. People will sort of be drawn to you more during this time. You'll have some luck and vitality sort of infused into your personality and, you know, what's visible on the surface of you, the things that people see right away when they look at you. Your confidence at this time will also be increased, but with that being said, you know, Jupiter can be overindulgent and have overabundance. So I would be wary of being too confident at this time as to not ruffle anyone's feathers, come across conceited, etc., etc. Yeah. So if Jupiter is transiting your second house right now, he is asking you, what do you value? What is important for you to own? What do you really need in terms of ownership? At this time, you know, Jupiter in the second house is a very favorable transit. It can bring some wealth. It can bring sort of money, or, you know, maybe, you know, someone gives you some furniture, or, things of that nature. Just the things that you own, your estate will just sort of take an increase at this time. So yeah, it's a really good transit. There's a lot of luck and wealth involved with that transit. I personally think it's a good time to like play the number. If you're into that sort of thing, it can't hurt. Yeah. So if Jupiter's in your third house, it wants to expand your communication. You might see some sibling issues be resolved at this time. Your relationships with your siblings might grow at this time. This is sort of a dissolving of limitations that you have centered around communications. You'll be more able to speak your mind during this time. You'll have more of an eloquent sort of speaking ability. If you're someone who typically has trouble articulating, this will be a better time for you. This might sort of help your Mercury out a little bit. It's a great time to work on your speaking and, read some books that sort of increase your vocabulary and just help you communicate better in every sense. But if you are someone with siblings and, you really want to improve on your relationship with them, this is a great time to do that. The third house is ruled by Gemini. It rules your siblings, those relationships, because often those relationships are what teach you how to communicate early in life. The way that you play with your brothers and sisters and even cousins and, the people close to you in your early life. Those are the things that sort of, give you your communication habits. Yeah. So, if Jupiter is transiting your fourth house, with this retrograde time, definitely seek inner peace while it's in retrograde. Find some solitude in your home. Build a space to meditate in so that you can go there and just recharge and be super introspective during this retrograde cycle. As an overall transit guide, if you have some sort of domestic issues happening in your life, some security issues with your home life, just an unstable home life, unstable family dynamic, issues with the mother, these things will be expanded upon at this time. So if, let's say you want to get closer to your mom, your family in general, you want to build a better home, this is the time to do it, as the fourth house rules home. If you do have Scorpio in your fourth house, there is sort of this complex intensity happening in that area of your life. So this would be a very good time to sort of go within while Jupiter is in retrograde and sort of figure out what that is. Figure out if you want those relationships to remain the way that they are. Scorpio energy can be very tough to deal with, especially in the fourth house. There's just kind of this element of intensity that you really don't want as a child when you're growing up and you want to be nurtured and feel supported. That's a weird placement. So this can be a time to really heal and work on some of those things. If Jupiter is in your fifth house right now, your creative self-expression has sort of been expanded since it went into Scorpio in November. In October, sorry. The fifth house also rules children. So if you do have children, sort of your relationship with them at this time is sort of being, expanded, changed. There's some vitality being thrown in there. You might find that your relationship with them, takes on a more positive tone at this time. You might be able to communicate with them better at this time. The fifth house also rules romance. So for a lot of you, if you have Jupiter in your fifth house right now, when it went into your fifth house, I would go back to that time and see if maybe a new person might have come into your life. Some sort of new romance or fling, not necessarily a boyfriend. Like the fifth house is sort of before you get to that partnership stage. The first few months, courting, dates, going to plays, showing up with flowers, taking someone out to a fancy romantic dinner. Those are all fifth house things. While Jupiter's in retrograde, I would advise maybe not to sort of go above and beyond in the romance aspect. You're more so going to want to go within yourself and think about what you want from romance, what you want from, your creative self. And, if you're someone who's a musician or just a creative type in general, this might be a time to really focus on your art and be like, okay, that style don't work for me no more. I'm about to do this now. Things of that nature. If you're a musician, the sound I've been doing is whack. It sounds like everybody else on the radio. I'm about to do this now because this is what I'm feeling, Jupiter retrograde also Jupiter in general in Scorpio and then in retrograde, that whole introspection energy, like you might all of a sudden, be like, oh shit, I don't like drinking anymore. Or, oh, I don't like pickles anymore. Just these weird realizations that sort of come out of left field are things that we can sort of expect from this transit. I did someone's chart earlier today, and I'm like, this is a time, she had very detached energy. Some Aquarius, Venus, very detached, Gemini rising, but with this transit, I could see that her heart was sort of being activated. She was sort of being called to come to terms with and be more in touch with her feelings. So, look for some of those things with the fifth house Jupiter. I want to try and speed this up because I am on a train right now. I'm going to be off here in about 15 minutes or so. Sixth house, Jupiter in the sixth house. Number one, weight gain. This placement can cause you to physically gain weight. The sixth house rules the body. Jupiter is expansion wherever it is. Don't overindulge during this time. Watch the carbs, watch what you eat, unless you don't mind gaining weight. Some people like a little bit more cushion for the pushing. Whatever. To each their own. So yeah, just watch out for that weight gain thing because it is a real thing. If you also have, Jupiter in Virgo in your natal chart, that is something that can be an issue as well. But, the sixth house also rules work and acts of service to others. So at this time, your work and your career is sort of being expanded. For some of you, this retrograde can bring some negativity to your work, to your career. There might be some issues with that come up. So just be very mindful of that. Just sort of knowing, knowing that retrograde is happening right now in that house. Things could get a little bit frustrating at work for you up until July 10th when it goes direct again. But Jupiter, this whole transit of it being in your sixth house can ultimately bring some sort of promotion. You might start getting the recognition that you deserve, that you want at work. You will be more hardworking during this time. There's vitality infused into that house of working. So this is a great time for advancement in the workplace to sort of climb up the ladder. But just be wary of maybe things slowing down or just some sort of hardship centered around, right now when it is retrograde. The seventh house, partnerships. Any sort of partnerships. This is the house of one-on-one relationships and intimacy, marriage, things of that nature. But for the most part, just your relationships in general are being expanded upon during this whole transit. So retrograde, you might have some sort of issue with one of these partnerships that needs to sort of be reflected upon. So make sure that you go in and do the introspection, figure out if this person is for you or not, whether or not the dynamic is working, and that way when it goes direct again, you know how to continue. 8th house, sex, death. You know, if you have Jupiter in the 8th house right now, that's double Scorpio, because Scorpio rules the 8th. So you're really being asked to go within, examine some of those taboo things beneath the surface about yourself, maybe some childhood wounds that you have not shared with anyone, sexual insecurities, obsessions with death, the occult. All of these things are being expanded. So during this retrograde cycle, make sure you go within, slow it down, get you some meditation, some Reiki, and really just expand your consciousness from the inside. The 9th house, if Jupiter's transiting your 9th house, it rules that house. That transit is all about traveling and learning philosophy, higher education, religion, metaphysics. So during this retrograde, slow down a little bit. You might have done a lot of travel recently. Now might be the time to look through all of those pictures that you took and really sort of examine what that travel experience meant for you and what it brought to you as a person. If Jupiter is in your 10th house, your career is being expanded. The way the world sort of perceives you, what you project out into the world, just your higher status is being expanded. So with it being retrograde, you could encounter some sort of issue with a superior at work. So make sure that even though it's expanding your career, that you don't get overindulgent, because there is a propensity to clash with, you know, other like sort of people in charge in your career, in your workplace. So just make sure that during this retrograde time, you sort of avoid that conflict. You know, keep things smooth at work, sweet talk some of your bosses, and you should be fine. It's a great transit. Look for, you know, promotions towards the end of it, maybe a raise. Great time to ask for a raise when it goes direct again. Jupiter in the 11th house would bring some sort of expansion to your social life, your friendships on a career and social sort of networking level. You know, while it's retrograde, you could have some sort of issue with some people in your life, with some friendships. And you're going to want to really go within and decide who is good for you and who isn't. Who do I have room for? Who do I not have room for? Who's a good person for me to network with in terms of my career? Who's a bad look for me? Jupiter wants you to just really examine those relationships and connections that you have with others. Lastly, if Jupiter is in your 12th house, your spirituality is being expanded, like mine. I am learning all sorts of forms of spirituality to infuse into my psychic and astrological practices. I'm learning about different religions, different cultures, different forms of divination. Now that it's retrograde, I'm really sort of just not fucking with anybody, just sort of, you know, chilling in bed a lot, you know, doing lots of self-work, examining myself, examining who I am, examining, you know, what I believe in terms of my spirituality. Again, the 12th house is hidden from you, so it can be hard to pinpoint what this energy and this transit does for you, but just know that it's going to be a powerful transit, very spiritual, especially with all the Pisces stuff going on, with Neptune also trine Jupiter. There's going to be just a lot of psychic activity in your life. It might be confusing. Seek spiritual counsel to give you understanding of what you're experiencing. But this is just Jupiter in the transit in the 12th house. Very introspective time, very reflective time. You're going to learn a lot about yourself. Your subconscious is going to come to the surface. You're going to realize parts of yourself that you did not know were there. Yeah, and then once it goes direct again, kind of goes towards your ascendant, over your ascendant, on my ascendant right now, you know, look for it to bring good things into your life and infuse your personality and who you are and the way that people perceive you with just some added benefit and vitality. So all in all, you know, Jupiter transiting is a somewhat positive thing for everyone. So make sure that you know where it is in your chart, so that you know what area of life you really need to be reflecting on, even though I promise you, you're already doing it. Jupiter don't play. Jupiter's making y'all look at all of these issues. It's really time to go within, expand, heal, and transform. Transform. That's what this is about. So yeah, I hope that you guys found this video informative. This is my first of many videos, so I apologize for any long-windedness. I will get better and better as the time goes. So again, my name is Virgilio. This is the Akashic Review. You can hit me up at the akashicreview@gmail.com. You can also follow me at Akashic_view on Instagram. I am available to serve the community with any sort of spiritual, astrological needs. If I am not the right person to facilitate that spiritual growth for you, I have lots of colleagues and just incredible spiritual people that I can refer you to, specifically a Reiki master and a fantastic tarot lady, and then also my mom, who is the best astrologer I've ever come across. She is also a researcher. She is one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. I sort of consult her as the oracle, so she's also a great resource that I can refer you guys to if needed. But in terms of all of your astrological needs, feel free to hit me up. I do offer free consultations. I'm not going to charge you just to take a quick glance at your energy. I am here to help you guys, to serve the community so that I can clear my karma and get the hell up out of here. So I thank you guys for listening and aiding me in fulfilling my North Node. So thank you guys. Peace, Reiki blessings to all of you, and I will catch you in the very near future. Thank you. Peace.